And welcome back to Santa Has a Podcast, where we get to talk about all the great things, stories and laughs and holiday spirit, all from the North Pole. Yes, Today we're going to be talking about, Christmas traditions, about decking the hall and hanging up your stockings, all those things that are unique to the traditions of Christmas, things that maybe your parents did or your grandparents did and maybe even great-great-grandparents did. So it's going to be kind of like a journey through Christmas past all the way up to the present. So, are you ready to go? Okay, that's good. Now, before we jump into all that fun on the little bits of history and stuff like that, we want to, and other things, I've got some other things planned for today that are going to be very special for you. Let's take a moment to remember what we did at the end of last week's episode. What did we do? Do you remember? We had a riddle for you. That's right. So I want you to, did you get an answer for it? I'm going to recite the riddle, and you tell me what the answer is, okay? Here's the riddle. I wear a cap, and I travel far. I fly at night, no plane or car. I bring you cheer while you're asleep. Who am I? You're right. It's me, Santa Claus. Wow, that is great that you figured that all out by yourself. Oh, you're smart. Yes, that is wonderful. Well, anyway, we're going to have more riddles. I'll have another one for you at the end of today, okay? We'll give you another riddle for next week, but we'll give you that riddle later today, okay? And I love good riddles. It makes it a lot of fun. And I love, may I call you my clever cookies? You guys are so great at doing this. Now, let's jingle into this week's fun Christmas facts and things like that. So, did you know that Christmas trees started in Germany? Yes, Germany has lots of trees, and people had a tradition of sometimes decorating trees. In fact, going back centuries, they actually would maybe carve little things or put little treats on the trees, and then, would you believe, they would light the tree on fire so that all the little messages would go up into the heavens so that the gods could hear their messages. Yes, and that was how they started decorating the trees. Well, then they started just decorating the trees for fun around the house. Now, of course, you've seen a Christmas tree with lots of lights on it, right? But in the old days, guess what they did instead of lights? They put candles on the tree. Now, today, we don't do candles because we don't want to start a fire at home, don't we? No. But the candles were put on the tree. And the reminder of those little candles and little lights was to remind us of all the stars up in the sky. All the stars that God put up there for us. So we knew that God put those stars up there, so we put the candles on our trees. And, of course, we had the big star on top, which was based on the Star of the East, which is kind of neat. Now, that's candles, and that's trees being decorated. But then we had to add color to it. So there were ornaments, and there was ribbon, and sometimes people would pop popcorn and string it together. Or maybe they would make little paper snowmen or paper animals and put those on the tree. All kinds of little decorations. But the whole idea was the whole family could do this together and have fun decorating the tree. And part of it was to have a tree that was very beautiful so that when Santa arrived, he had something beautiful to put your present under. Isn't that nice? You have a pretty tree? Well, you need to have some sort of tree. It doesn't have to be a gorgeous tree. It doesn't even have to be a great big tree. It could be a little tiny tree. But you want to have a little tree, someplace where Santa can know that that's where the presents go. Okay? So get yourself a good tree for Christmas. Now, beyond that, there were stockings. Remember earlier on one of the other episodes I talked about stockings? St. Nicholas took some money and he put a little bag and he threw it through a window and it landed in a stocking. And that started a tradition of putting stockings out for you to have Santa put something in there for you. And sometimes in the early days, the things they put in a stocking might be an apple or an orange, maybe a little coin, a little bit of money, sometimes a toy or a piece of candy. Lots of little things that you can put inside a stocking. In some countries, like we said earlier, in the Nordic countries up in Holland, the Dutch children would have shoes. They put their shoes out instead of a stocking, and so Santa could come along and I could put little things inside their shoes. So that was what we had going, for the stockings and things like that. Now, again, stockings are nice in the chimney. I don't need great great big stockings. I just need a nice little stocking, something to put a little surprise in for you. You're going to have presents with lots of ribbons and bows, and those will be nice for Christmas. But the stockings are also a nice place to put little treats in and things. So, by the way, if you see a stocking on a fireplace, did you know that you could actually put something in that stocking? If you had a stocking on the fireplace for yourself, and one for mommy, and one for daddy, and one for your brother or sister or somebody else in your family, maybe you could write a note and put a note in that stocking. That's your present to the person you love. So you can use the stockings for that, too. It doesn't have to be just from Santa. It can be from you, too. So it makes it very, very nice. Now, let's see. What other famous things or traditions that are kind of neat? Oh, I know the number one item, candy cane. How many children out there don't like candy canes? I don't see anybody raising your hand. How many of you like candy canes? Oh, wow, look at the hands go up. Everybody likes candy canes, right? Well, candy canes are very special at Christmas. Number one, they're red and white. They hang very easily on a Christmas tree. And for a lot of people, depending on your religion or your beliefs, candy canes might look like the shepherd's crook, which Jesus used, Christ used in his work and everything like that. But it came from St. Nicholas, and he put candy canes out there. And the other thing candy canes are really designed for, it was designed for children to have. And sometimes in church, to keep the children from talking, to keep the children from making noise, the parents would give them a little candy. Well, they would give them a candy cane. And so they would be quiet while they were in church. So it made it kind of a nice thing to do. Now, you don't need candy canes to be quiet, do you? Oh, you do? Well, that's nice then. Well, anyway, candy canes are fun, and they're tasty. Peppermint, I love peppermint. It's great. So anyway, we do have those little things here. Let me see. I'm going to flip through my little chart here and see what else I got. The elves give me all kinds of notes. I am getting so much fun learning how to do this podcast. You know, we didn't start doing this podcast except this year, just recently. And this is what is it, our third episode? Third episode that we're doing right now. So we're going to do lots more of these because we want you to tune in every week and see Santa and find out more information about what's going on at the North Pole. So the podcasts are a way to do it. And the elves are getting very good at this. You know, they've got it well lit in here, and I'm comfortable. Oh, by the way, I like my new shirt. I got this nice new Hawaiian shirt. You know, it's warm right now still. It's still summertime, so I got a nice Hawaiian shirt to wear. And but maybe in the future episode, would you like me to wear my regular Santa suit maybe? Okay, in a couple weeks I'll wear my regular Santa suit, so you get to see that a little early. I usually save it only until November or December when it's really cold, but I might wear it for something special here in August or September or something like that. So let's see now. We got all that information about candy canes. By the way, candy canes are about 300 years old. They've been around a long, long, long time. So those are fun facts, and they really jingle my bells and kind of a fun thing like that. But now we've got to go to Candy Cane Square, and we have our news report of what's going on out there. So let's go to Chatter Snowglitz and find out what's going on.
Thanks, Santa. Well, it's snowflakes and sleigh bells right here with Chatter Snowglitz reporting live from Candy Cane Square, where toy hammers are tapping and gingerbread cookies are cooling. Let's see what's happening today. There's a group of elves that have set the world record for the fastest tree decorating. They got 12 trees in 3 minutes? Holy cow, way to go, elves! Our reindeer choir is rehearsing the 12 Nights of Christmas for their Christmas concert coming up. In Elf History class today, they are building a timeline of holiday traditions with glitter and glue, of course, and they will be sharing that with all of us soon. And big news in the toy shop today, the elves are going digital. They have a smart toy checklist. The toy shop announced a Check Twice app, which is helping each elf track toys from tinkering all the way to wrapping. Now we can also double check who's been naughty or nice with just one tap. This will be tested this season, and I bet it will be great. Reporting live from where the snowflakes fall, it's Chatter Snowglitz jingling out. Back to you, Santa.
Hey, thank you, Chatter. That was wonderful. He says, well, now, everybody, it's time to slip on your sunglasses, shake the sand out of your stockings, because it's time to talk a little bit about Christmas traditions. Now, you're thinking to yourself, what are Christmas traditions? Well, traditions are activities or events that we do just about every year. Like every Christmas, do you have a particular relative that you go visit? Do you have a school play that you go visit or see? Or maybe you have certain things that you want to do around your house that are special for Christmas. We have traditions not only at Christmas, we have traditions even now during the summertime. How about, do you have a family picnic you go on? Do you go traveling to visit anybody? Do you go on a vacation? These are all little traditions that families have. And it makes it nice to be able to have these traditions, you know. How about baking cookies? You know, for Christmas, we bake cookies. But guess what? You could even do that during the summer. You could bake cookies now and give cookies to your family loved ones. You could give them to neighbors and friends. Cookies are a lot of great things. And then, of course, there are other Christmas traditions, and they're super special because we always remember them. I'll bet if you asked your parents or some loved ones about traditions, they might tell you about how everybody gets together around the Christmas tree and sings Christmas songs. Well, guess what? You can do the same. You can sing Christmas songs. But during the summertime, you might want to sing some other songs together, and you can have your own tradition here during the summer. Traditions help us feel close. Every time you do something fun together, like hanging your ornaments or singing the Christmas carols or making hot cocoa together, these are happy memories. These are traditions that you get to do. And have you ever done something like that and then you want to do it again because it's fun? Do you feel good about doing it? You want to do it over and over every year. I know some children, they love to make hot cocoa every year. They love to make cookies for Santa every year. This is a wonderful Christmas tradition. Now, again, it is summertime, so you may have other traditions that you want to do right now. But the Christmas traditions, those are the ones Santa remembers the most, because I get lots and lots of cookies. So that's, I have to think about that. But example, knowing that you make a gingerbread house or gingerbread cookie every December, isn't that a lot of fun? Have you ever put together a gingerbread house and decorated it, made it beautiful? And every year, guess what? As we get older, we do a better job decorating. For some reason, when we start when we're young, the gingerbread house might be a little messy looking. But as you get older, it gets prettier and better looking. It's just like, coloring in a coloring book. When you start, it's kind of like scribbles. But as you get older, you get better, and now you can draw within the lines. That's really, really special. It's the same thing with decorating your own gingerbread houses, okay? Now, if you watch Polar Express in fuzzy slippers and had hot cocoa, is that a tradition? Do you like doing things like that? It makes it very, very special for all of us, Now, having traditions give us something to look forward to. In other words, right now, you're thinking, okay, I know this coming Christmas we're going to have an event and we're all going to go visit Grandma, okay? And you look forward to that visit to Grandma. So these are things we get to look forward to, and we feel good about doing it, And then these become stories that we tell, because when you're older, you'll talk about the time you visited and maybe the gift that you got when you visited Grandma or Grandpa or an aunt or an uncle. It makes it very, very special. I love it. So, again, keep your traditions alive. Have fun with them. In fact, I'd say get a little piece of paper and write down some of the traditions you like. And when you write it down, you're going to remember it even more. Okay? Well, that's it for right now on traditions and everything. There are a lot more traditions. In fact, someday maybe I'll tell you about some of the traditions that Mrs. Claus and I have, because we have some wonderful things that we get to do around the North Pole just for ourselves, between Mrs. Claus and myself. Ouch, I hit my mailbox. And, of course, we have traditions with the elves, because there's some things that we do for the elves every year. So think of your traditions. Have a great time, okay? What fun it is to talk about Christmas traditions. Right now, though, it's time for some giggles and laughs and things like that. Let's head over to see Rudolph, who's got our fun jingle jokes of the day. Are you ready, Rudolph?
I'm ready, Santa. Okay, here we go. Number 1, Santa. What kind of ball does not bounce? It's a snowball. Watch out, I'm going to hit you. Okay, and the next one I have for you is, why did the Christmas lights go to school? Well, it's because they wanted to be a little brighter. Rudolph, those jokes really slayed me. I don't know where you come up with those. That's fantastic. Okay, Mailbox Magic, we've got some great things this week. I've got a couple letters here I want to read to you. So listen up, everybody. Here's the first one. This is from Lucas, who's 8 years old. And Lucas asks, do elves have birthdays? And then he also asks, what do elves eat? And his final comment was, I would like a Lego spaceship if the elves have time. Well, Lucas, thank you for that question. And maybe the elves do have time. They do make a lot of wonderful toys because that's the magic that we have. Santa's magic is toys. But let's talk about the elves. You asked about a birthday. Elves are kind of like us in a way. They all do have birthdays. And they celebrate birthdays with their family and their friends. You know, they celebrate Christmas. They celebrate all the holidays. You know, they celebrate weddings and anniversaries, just all kinds of stuff like that. So, yes, we do celebrate elf birthdays. But, of course, for me, it gets a little difficult because when the elves, you know, some are like 150, 200 years old, and I forget how old they are, you know, because they still look like they're 5 or 10 or 20 years old. I can never tell. But, again, it's always fun. Now, you ask them, what do they eat? They eat food just like you do. You know, they cook all kinds of different meals. They love porridges and oatmeals. They love vegetables. They have their own gardens. They grow all kinds of vegetables and carrots and corn and broccoli and cauliflower and things like that. So they like all kinds of food. And again, it makes it kind of special. Plus, just like Mrs. Claus teaches a lot of them how to bake, a lot of them bake things. So they love breads and cookies and cakes and pies. So it's a wonderful time for the elves because they love eating. So those are those two questions. Now, I also have one here. Let's see. The next question is from Max. Max is 6 years old, and he says, Dear Santa, can I have a robot that will do my homework? Well, I don't know. And also tells jokes. Oh, okay. If not, I'll take a snowball launcher or a burrito. Surprise me. Wow, that's kind of neat. Well, first of all, Santa cannot give you a robot I've even had some other children ask for their own elf to do their homework. Can't do that. That's your responsibility. Okay, number one. Number two, remember that Santa's magic is toys. So, you know, I make toys. I don't make things to do your homework or do work for you or things like that. You have to do your own work. You have to do your own homework. That's how you get smart. That's how you learn and you get smart, okay? Now, sometimes you can find little games and things that will tell jokes. So maybe one of the toys I can check on is to see if we've got a toy that tells jokes. You know, it can be kind of fun, okay? Now, a snowball launcher, well, I try to be careful. You know, they are kind of fun. I do have a little thing that helps you make snowballs, so maybe that will help you, you know, if you'd like to have that. And then a burrito, well, you can get a burrito from your mom or dad or family. So generally, I don't bring food, okay? Again, my magic is toys, okay? But I will surprise you, Max. That's one thing Santa is good at. I always bring surprises for everybody, okay? So Merry Christmas, Max. Okay, that's it on our messages right now. Remember, you can go to Santa Has a Podcast, and you can leave questions or leave messages that I will try to use on my future podcasts, okay? So maybe I'll get to read one of your questions or hear one of your audio messages to me. In fact, right now we have a couple audio messages, so let's move over to that side. And I've got one of my senior elves back there. Can you hit the button and play an audio for me? Let's hear what we got.
How do you make your reindeers go?
Well, it's kind of easy in some ways. They already know what to do. You know, I might just yell out, hey, let's go, you know, next house, that type of thing. Simple questions. They're very, very smart. I don't have to do a lot of, you know, giddy up go and stuff like that. But I do love the traditional thing when I'm taking off. When I take off, you know, and I'm on a big long run, I love being able to yell out all their names.
on Dasher, on Dancer, on Prancer and Vixen, on Comet, on Cupid, on Donder and Blitzen. Away to the top, away to the wall. Now dash away all. I love doing that. That's a great poem from many years ago, but it's really true. It's what we do with the reindeer. So again, we have a lot of fun out there. Okay. Do we have another question from somebody?
How many elves are at the North Pole?
Well, that's a busy question. You know, every year we get more and more. You know, because the population keeps growing. Just like the population where you live, there's always new babies being born and things like that. But we have thousands of elves at the North Pole. There are so many little toy shops and workshops and factories where we make all of the toys. You know, Santa and the elves take care of millions and millions of children. And to do that, we need thousands of elves to make millions and millions of toys. So again, they're great workers. You know, we have a great society. They do wonderful things, and I couldn't do it without the work of all the elves, so I thank them very, very much. But that's the questions we have right now. Again, you can go to the website, go to Santa Has a Podcast, send us your questions, or leave us a message, and maybe we'll use it on a future podcast, okay? Those are great, great, great. I love those. Keep them coming. Now, it's time for everyone to kind of quiet down a little bit. Quiet down so we can hear how our spirit meter is running, okay? Oh, wow, that is great. It's sounding stronger than ever, even stronger than last week. Now, remember, last week I asked you to go out and let someone get ahead of you in line. In other words, invite them to go ahead and get in front of you. So, you know, being kind and courteous. That's one of those wonderful things we can do, is be respectful to others and everything. You know, so when you're in line in a game or maybe, you know, wherever you're at, let someone, you know, cut in front of you, get in front of you in line, and be courteous to them, and it makes it really nice. Now, did any of you do that? Well, I know some of you did, because the meter went up, and that's what we want you to do. I saw some of you do that, and you did a very, very good job. Now, we have to talk about what are we going to do this week. You know, we want to keep it going. We want to keep boosting the power of the spirit meter and make it even better with a Jolly Good Deed challenge every week. So this week we have a new challenge for you, and here it is. Help set or clear the table without being asked. Yeah, that's right. So it's coming up for dinner time, right? What if you went in and set the table for everybody for dinner without having your mom or dad or anybody else ask you? Isn't that nice? Or maybe at the end of dinner you help clear everything off and get the dishes all ready to be washed. That's a special thing you can do. That's a good deed. And doing that good deed helps boost our spirit meter. Can you do that? Wonderful. That's great. Well, I hope you do that. And if you do that, our spirit meter is going to keep going up, okay? And our spirit meter is already rising, because I know some of you are already thinking about that, okay? So get on with that jolly good deed. We love that, okay? Well, my merry pals, that's all there is for today at Santa Has a Podcast. But before we say goodbye, you know, we're missing something? I see some of you thinking, am I missing? What am I missing? The riddle. That's right. I do a riddle every week. Okay. Well, then we're not done with the broadcast yet. We're not done with the podcast yet. Last little bit of Christmas cheer. We've got to do a riddle. So let me check the list here. Let's see. I hope you can figure out this riddle before next week, okay? Here's the riddle of the day. I've got it here on the board, okay? I twinkle and shine. I'm hung with care. You'll find me glowing almost anywhere. I'm not a star, but I love to glow. What am I? Okay. I'm going to repeat it one more time for you, okay? So listen up. Here it goes. I twinkle and shine. I'm hung with care. You'll find me glowing almost anywhere. I'm not a star, but I love to glow. What am I? Okay, figure out that answer, and when we come back next week, we'll tell you what the answer is, okay? It's been great being with you this week. Now, I want you to keep spreading joy and kindness, and I'll talk to you again next week on Santa Has a Podcast. Ho, 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 ho!
Santa's coming to town. He's got a